Hey everybody, welcome back live at Drew's House, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all enjoying September here. We come to you from our Newburyport studios, and we got a first-time guest on the show today. Very exciting. Tim O'Donnell is in the house, director of the new documentary, The House We Lived In, featured in its closing, the Newburyport Documentary Film Festival on September 18th, Sunday night. Get over there, check it out, get your tickets if you haven't already. But this is cool. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm feeling good besides a broken foot.
I know. You had one of those wheeled scooter things.
I've got a pretty sweet blue scooter, so if you see me around town, it's good. It gets me there faster. I took the governor plate off, so I'm going pretty fast.
It is kind of a cool looking thing, I will say. I got my attention.
It totally is, and you can just put both feet up at some point and just cruise on hills. So
you're gonna keep it even when the foot's not broken.
Yeah, exactly.
That is funny. So how'd you do it? How'd you break the foot?
So I love to dance. I like to get out there and move around, and on this particular night, I rolled my ankle just in the right way and felt a little funny. But the dancing was pretty good. I think Jesse's girl was playing, so I think it was worth it.
What was this, a wedding?
No, it was just Surfside, Friday night.
Wow.
At actually my surprise birthday party. We all showed up in floral pattern stuff. I thought it would just be like one couple, and there was a whole crew there, and we had a great time, but it happens. Sometimes you break a foot.
A dancing injury is a fantastic story, actually. I like that.
It kind of is, yeah, and it kind of suits me, I think. So.
It's funny, and the technology on those things. I mean, they are. I joked you could ride around on that thing. It's kind of a cool tool. Yeah.
I have.
You take it everywhere now?
Oh yeah, I cruise.
Good job. Well, that's very funny. I hope you get better. Seriously,
Thanks.
It's a clean break.
Yeah. I just broke a little bone in my foot, and it takes a few weeks, and I'll be fine. But
you know what they say? Everybody's playing hurt this time of year.
That's right. Yeah. Totally. Exactly. Getting a little sympathy.
So you'll be greeting people then at the film festival.
Yes.
I look for the guy in the blue bike. It should make it easy.
Exactly. I'm going to be hard to miss.
Well, talk about this film a little bit. You must be, first, to get picked, first of all, by the Newburyport Documentary Film Festival. I know those people. One thing, we just had a couple of the people that put this show on. To be picked by them is such an honor, if I can speak, is such an honor because I know how many they have that come their way, and it gets really tough trying to pick the best. And it must be like wow, they picked me. That must be kind of a cool feeling.
Yeah, I think it's just a cherry on top for sure, and it's a huge honor. And the fact that we get to close it is a big deal. And for us, this film is a personal film. It's something we've been working on for 10.5 years. So to not just get picked, but to get picked with this particular film that's so meaningful and also kind of a local story, it's going to be a special night. Yeah,
talk about the 10.5 years here and putting it together. Tell everybody what the story's about. And
yeah. So, it's not normal to spend 10.5 years on a documentary film, and we've gotten to start and finish many films in between this period of time.
Yeah.
But my dad, luckily he survived and he's doing well now, but my dad had a traumatic brain injury. Just one day, woke up, fell, no big deal. And it wasn't some particular thing. He just fell. He just woke up and passed out, hit his head in just the right way, and was in a coma for 8 days. And this sounds terrible right now to say this, but we have an Irish Catholic kind of background. So, in dark moments, we try to find the light. We try to find the humor. So I'm one of four, and my mom, of course, too. We're all there bedside, and we're just trying to bring him back to life.
Yeah.
Talking to him, doing everything we can. It wasn't looking good, and I decided to pull my camera out to film him in his last day. What I didn't know was that he was going to wake up. And so what started as a blink turned into him. He was at Spalding Rehab, which is one of the best places you can go. One of the most miraculous recoveries they've ever seen.
Yeah.
So what started as just maybe that last moment turned into starting to document his progress. We made a short film called No Quit that was picked up by ESPN. My dad then became a brain injury advocate, started speaking in groups, motivational groups, and I continued to film. And what happened was we noticed he was missing some of his memories, in particular the house that we grew up in, this house that has all these wonderful memories of us growing up. And the film documents that struggle to recover lost memories. And you kind of go on this journey. It's a very intimate, as you can imagine, me, the son, the filmmaker, following my dad on this 10.5 year long journey.
Wow. All right. Well, first, let's go back a little bit and talk about the recovery? I mean, obviously you mentioned it. The doctors were stunned. This was not the result you were expecting. You thought you had lost your dad a long time ago.
Yeah.
What is that like for a family when dad wakes up?
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky, right? Because it can totally rip a family apart. And, I don't know why, but, I do know why. It's from my parents, that we were able to stick together. We all kind of did different things at different moments, and we're all there. Meanwhile, I'd left my job as a teacher. I was an art teacher and wrestling coach for 6 years.
Oh, yeah. Where at?
In Springfield, Massachusetts, at Springfield Central. And I decided to, which I'm lucky I have supportive parents. Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to leave my job. Yeah. I just met this girl, Allison. We're going to move to Boston, and I think I'm going to be a filmmaker. So, that happened June of 2011. My dad fell 3 months later.
And where did you guys grow up?
We grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, and Hudson, New Hampshire.
All right. So
we're local. And I kind of have this moment of moving in to Boston, and my dad falls a couple months later, and all of a sudden, I'm there, and I can be there every day at the hospital with my siblings. So it was it was one of those things. We all kind of brought energy when we could. Yeah. And even when my dad woke up, it wasn't like, oh, he's fine. Like, there was all these questions. How much would he progress? Would he know who we are? Lots of what ifs. So it was, and there's not much we know. Even the doctors, they can't tell you, my broken foot is a good example. I just went to the doctor and they're like, hey, 3 more weeks and then you can do X. Yeah. With a brain injury, it's like, we don't know. He could wake up tomorrow and be fine, or he could be in a coma for a while. Like, you just don't know.
So, I mean, that must resonate so much with so many families, not necessarily that sort of story, but I mean, just, when you talk about dementia and everything, I mean, that has hit so many families throughout the country, throughout the world. So it's a feeling that I think a lot of people probably resonate with. Yeah. And not only from the person who's dealing with it, but the family, in your case, going through it, right?
Yeah, I think, as we got deeper and deeper into the brain injured community, there was a lot of conversations and issues on caregivers and how the effect of the family unit, There's obviously a lot of support given to the person that has the injury, but how do the other members kind of cope and go along with this? And the film, hopefully will connect with a lot of people, not just, memory issues, but dealing with trauma and moving forward, where somebody is different one day. Yeah. And how can we all kind of catch up and be fine with the quote unquote new normal of whatever it is that you're dealing with.
So you get the filmmaker thing in your blood, obviously, a little bit, even though you said you started late, which makes you pull out the camera when this happens. But did you always like playing with cameras as a kid? Like, where did that start?
It's in the film too. It goes back to my dad.
Really?
So I have an older brother and myself, we're wrestlers. And, a big thing in, like, as you get competitive is to film and watch tape.
Yes.
So my dad would film us from the bleachers. And my brother's 8 years older, so a lot of times I'd get the camera. And so he taught me how to use the camera. And forever, it was just kind of like a side thing. And I was, I thought I was going to be, which I did. I pursued art, as a painter. I thought I was going to be a painter for life. I went into art education. It was awesome. I loved working with kids. But this whole time, this camera thing was always kind of in the background of everything in my life. And so it kind of took a few things to fall together until I realized, this is what I needed to do. And as a teacher, it's pretty hard to continually teach and talk to kids if you're kind of not doing what you're telling them to do. So it was a moment of like, all right, dude, like you need to do
walk
it.
The walk, right?
Yeah, totally. You're kind of a phony. So, but yeah, I love teaching. And I was lucky to do it. And then, the camera thing started coming together and projects just started happening, just like my dad, it wasn't something I decided, hey, I'm going to do a 10.5-year film. It just, there was a reason to keep doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did, like you said, life goes on for you in between those 10.5 years, but this is the time period you chose to put the film together. I mean, I can't imagine how much footage you have. Like, I mean, the whole cutting what's important. I mean, you're trying to tell a story too. That's the whole thing about being an independent filmmaker, right? You're filming it, but you're telling the whole story. You're the script writer. There's no script. It's real life, but you know what I mean? You got to put together a story in some way.
Yeah.
It must have been kind of a wild, emotional ride, I would imagine.
Totally. Yeah. Part of this project was also kind of dealing with my own mental health, and it's common now to talk about that kind of thing in documentary filmmaking because I'm lucky. I've done films about veterans who've lost limbs and been through some horrific things. I've gotten to do a film about a lost boy, Sudan. And these are people in my life. It's not like I'm always connected, hopefully, in a good way, and hopefully the film's good for them. So there's that level, and a lot of folks need kind of to balance whatever kind of heavy traumatic thing you're going through. With your own self-care. And this film was a great example of, when that tipped a little bit. And so there was lots of moments where I needed to back off, and my wife, hey, I think you need to like take a break and like walk away. And that happened a few times. And I think really I've got a 5 and 2-year-old, and my daughter Dahlia, that was the moment I think at most because I wanted to finish the film before she was born. So I was working like 16-hour days, like editing. It was too much, and I kind of hit a roadblock, but the beauty of that is the film you see today, which had so many other people come together to work on this, because it really required outside perspectives to make a story that you're so close to.
You're literally too close to it.
Way too close to it. So it's a back and forth, and that's got to be the beauty of the rhythm of the edit. Is I got to edit, the co-editor Sam Oldmeadow, 2 other producers, John Mercer and Jeff Schmidt. And then my wife, Allison, is a co-producer, and she had a big piece in making this film work. And she's a part of every film that we do. So it was, I think for me, I really saw the beauty of working together with so many other people for a story that was, so close.
Obviously, you have trust in those people that are in your circle, but even with that, I know you probably see the finished product and you're like, oh, what we didn't include there, right? Does that happen in every movie? I'd imagine 10.5 years, there's stuff.
Totally. I think we're lucky. This is our 6th feature-length documentary film in 10 years. So we've been able to make films a little faster, I think, than most, or get things done because
just not this one.
Just not this one. So I think we do a good job of that balance, but totally we've had family screenings and I thought it was done. I mean, I thought it was done 4 years ago. Totally, it was done, but we kept filming and doing things to it. And to circle back, I am so proud of this film. It is weird to watch a film and not have any notes, and that's been happening for this film festival run that we've had, which is great to just sit back and enjoy it
yourself.
Usually I watch, like you said, even when it's all done, I'm still on my phone jotting notes on every film we've ever done. So it's cool. It's a good experience, and it's a good experience also for my entire family, and they've seen different cuts. They saw the film. It was over 3 hours. So I had a 3-hour cut that I thought it was it. And so it was a really unique project where, the participants are also kind of behind the scenes as well.
Did you have the first watch? Was it family?
It was, It was a pretty, as you can imagine, a big day.
Put me in that scene. Is it a living room?
It's my parents' apartment, and we're all kind of hanging out watching it, and I'm almost puking in my mouth, because I'm so nervous. But it's a very cathartic experience to go through something like that as a family, and then have this thing that's kind of bookends, and you can feel wow, we went through this, we did it right. And now my dad, the beauty of this is now my dad is also he's going to be there at the screening. He's quite a profound person, because he died and came back. He has a very interesting perspective on life. He has memories. He's lost, big chunks of his memory, but he's still there. And he often, we'll get emails and calls later about people saying your dad kind of changed a lot for me. So now he has this film that he can also kind of add to as a special guest speaker, panelist, and he's been able to reach a lot of different communities.
It must help him too, because I don't know, you probably learned for the film, I'm sure, and if you see it, I don't want you to give too much away, but I'm sure you get a good feel for where your dad is at. But it must be a part of the recovery process there too, going up there, answering these questions, talking about it. It's helpful, right? I would think.
I think so. I think in every, hopefully, right? Because there is this idea of ethics, and it's a tough question at times, especially something like this. I filmed somebody unconscious. I filmed somebody that I didn't have consent. But luckily, my family and everyone knew that would be helpful, because even a couple weeks after he got out of the coma, he was kind of down, and I'd pull my laptop out and say, look, 2 weeks ago,
how far you've come.
You weren't, so that was helpful early on. And I think now he's proud. He's very proud, not just for his own sake, but for me and my entire family. So I've seen him really shine after screenings, which, again, going back to like the dark side of like Irish Catholic, I don't know, just embracing the darkness. Like you would think you would watch a film about yourself and just be in tears and emotional. Like, he gets up on stage and he's just like hilarious. He's so funny. And then he's just giving wisdom, and only Todd, my dad, could be able to do that.
You guys are obviously incredibly close. Were there moments of, and I'm sure this comes across. I already know the answer to this, but I know there's moments where I'm sure he has gotten frustrated, just that lack of memory, that I can't remember that. What are you talking about? Like, there's those moments, right?
Totally. Yeah, we go pretty deep in the film about, well, what does that mean? There's all this other stuff and research we did on the side, and there's some really interesting work on how memory loss can actually be a positive, because if we remembered everything, it would be very problematic to just live each day. Yeah. So, there's definitely a silver lining. Not to say that it isn't hard, but he goes pretty deep in the film about the positives of not remembering and being able to start again. So he has, we just celebrated his 11th Alive Day, we call it, when he fell. And so he sometimes refers to his age as his Alive Day. So he's 11, And so in the film, even you see, he's like, I'm a new boy, I'm like a child right now, getting to experience life all over. So it's wild. It's wild to make a film about it. It's also wild to experience it. And also, it's once in a lifetime that you get to do something like this. I'm never going to be able to do something like this. I'm never going to get to, creatively have because it's a very experimental, creative film too. We get into some wild things. So, when
you talk about ethics, it's a little different when it's your dad. Like, you can't necessarily do that with the next door neighbor,
Totally, no.
So it does give you that kind of option. I mean, good instincts too, though, right? Because I mean, I know you're thinking about other things necessarily. You're thinking about not having a dad in a couple days when you first do this, but then somewhere along the lines, you're thinking this could be an incredible story to tell. 10.5 years later, who knew?
Yeah, I think there is something about any filmmaker, not just filmmaker, anybody that has this. There's something in your belly that's like, keep going. And there's those instincts. I think, like you said, are absolutely so important for any kind of work, right? And I think you see that sort of intention in a lot of things, when somebody really cares.
Well said. Tim O'Donnell, director of the new documentary, The House We Lived In. The title, I can imagine, but you want to elaborate on why you went with that title?
Sure, yeah. So when my dad woke up and started, talking to us and everything, we noticed that he couldn't remember the house we lived in, which we lived in there for 20 years. Me and my siblings grew up there.
This was the one
in Hudson, New Hampshire. We moved from Lowell to Hudson. It was the first house we ever had. We were living in apartments, and it was this big moment of like having a yard and having space, and so just I had an awesome upbringing. I'm so lucky, and he wakes up. And he doesn't remember the house. He remembers all of us, everything, wicked sharp memory, and this big 20-year gap. And meanwhile, unfortunately, my parents had some financial troubles leading up. So the house was actually foreclosed on, sadly, right before he fell. So he woke up, didn't know the house, and meanwhile, we were moving everything out of the house. So it was a really weird moment of like, a sharp thing where it's not in his memory. And now we're sort of like transitioning to a temporary space for them once he got out of the hospital. And my mom was kind of like couch surfing with all of us. So yeah, pretty heavy, troubling. And then, in the film, you'll see I take him to the old house and try to recover memories and take a very active role as a filmmaker. He also couldn't remember the game of golf, which was weird. He just randomly, he played for 50 years. He remembers everything else. So then we take him to the course, and you see it's wild, because it's also this sort of like science experiment in some way, where you see somebody recovering memories on camera and what that's like. So he actually starts to recover memories via dreams and just in various moments where it's like flashes. And so we go deep into, well, what is that? Like, and even talking to neurologists, well, what's happening? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no explanation. So it's it's a very unique kind of experience. But the title, is also a metaphor of that past, and not worrying about holding on to that past. It's the house we used to live in. It's not what we live in now. And you just gotta, hopefully in the film, you'll see that process of being okay with that, of acceptance.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Again, Tim O'Donnell joining us here. When you start, you've had success with other films now, and you start getting like in this case, the Newburyport Documentary Film Festival, but you get all these other critics, whether it's the newspaper guy down the street or whatever the bigger names are, that start giving you compliments on these things. Like, do you already know you got something? Do you already know this is, all right, we produced something here that's special? Or is it really like, okay, I'm bearing my soul out there, let's see what comes back at us?
No, we were talking about even Instagram earlier, and like social media, and like sometimes, intention or whatever it is, like it just catches, and there's a huge acceptance, and other times there isn't. So, it's tricky waters, I think, when you're making something, and you got to be careful of not relying too much on getting into a certain festival, or you get into a bunch, and so it is, I think it can be problematic, and every film's a little different. But
is that part of the goal? I mean,
it's totally, each film is a little different. We just finished another film, and we're going more grassroots and gonna go straight to distribution, because it's more of a niche film, and like there's other situations where you have something and you say like, this is gonna be more film festival versus more distribution, where we're going to be able to get this right to Hulu or a good deal and get it sort of immediate. So I think with this, we've surpassed our goal, and the biggest goal is, obviously I'm very proud of this, and this is a piece of art. This is not, I don't want to say it's different than other films, but it is. And then it's that thing for my dad to continue to do. So we have our film festival circuit. He's going to all these places. It's fun trips. It's family trips again. And then after that, it'll be educational screenings. He'll be able to take it to different groups and talk about it. So we're there, man, but yeah, I think you got to be careful. We get to do commercial and independent documentary work, and like, you got to be like very like, what's important, like what's actually important, like is it important to do that, or is it important just to like make a good film and feel good about it, especially one like this, or is it important to make money? Is it, I don't know, like each thing is different.
Dealing with that balance,
totally and good. Like if you're not questioning it, then you probably should.
You must be, as a son who's watched your dad from the hospital when he's not waking up to essentially going on tour with you. He goes into these places and it's part of the show, right?
I'm the hype man.
Yeah, you're the hype man. But he, you must be like proud of him as a
totally.
Think about, because I know that and maybe this comes up in the film, I'm not exactly sure what direction you go, but the depression part of it does come with a lot of that, right?
Totally.
I do know historically that's a big issue with these people that have gone through it, that it's hard. Those are tough moments. And you tell me your dad's up there joking, was he always a joking kind of guy? Was that a...
Yeah, it's, the new Todd, as we call him.
Let's call him that, new Todd?
Yeah. Just like, he's a new person, so you got to accept it. Yeah. There's old pieces that are there. The humor, totally one of them, but like he's so open. I actually think he was more depressed prior to his brain injury. Not I'm saying like it was a great thing, because there's lots of issues, but his mindset of just like, I've heard stories I've never heard before. Like we're so tight. I think before, as humans, we're all guarded. It's inevitable. Like I have 2 young kids. I'm dealing with that too. As you get older, no matter what your life is, it's gonna just get. You're building up all these things you're going through, so you get layers, man. And so like for the brain injury piece, I felt like all those layers melted. For good or for bad, like the unfilteredness, I sometimes have to say, hey, my dad had a brain injury. Sometimes he doesn't have filter in public areas, because he may say something that you publicly wouldn't typically say, but like but that's the beauty of it, because he was always kind of outspoken. He was always kind of like an outlier, so now he can really own it.
that is interesting. It's a miraculous story. I wonder what was the toughest part about putting it together, besides like just being so close to it. Was there just, I imagine 10.5 years of footage. That's just the sheer amount of stuff there, right?
It's like the beauty of both sides, just like you record all these things, and there's only so much that's going to get listened to.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much more like work behind the scenes, and there's things that you love. And the same goes for filmmaking in a lot of, you know, different careers where, you know, I feel really proud being able to have seen and experienced everything. You're only getting 83 minutes. You know, this film's 83 minutes. That's all you're getting.
Is that what you got it down to?
Yeah. And
Wow.
you're, the good and the bad is all the things that I fell in love with, because you fall in love with these things over and over again, these moments. But that doesn't mean that it's right for the film. So every project kind of has those things that are there on my hard drives, and every now and then I'll boot it up and just take a watch, because, you know, like going down, you know, memory row or whatever. But like that's the biggest challenge, is all those things that you might have. I mean, there's entire years I shot that aren't in the film. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's tough to like. It should be. You know, if you're thinking of like how I feel, well, the film should be, you know, a perfect balance of what I did.
Yeah.
But no, that doesn't. Who cares? Like nobody cares. At some point, you have to have other people watch it, test it, what's working, what's not working, and then you just got to be open and not feel like, well, I did this and blah blah blah. You know, there's that piece of your brain. You got to shut it up and say, it's not about you.
Are you pretty good about that without like the argument? I mean, I'm sure you battle over some stuff, but
yeah,
let's keep that. Let's not.
I think there are certain things that we've battled for that work, you know, for whatever reason. But I think being an artist, being a painter helped, because I got crushed during critiques. And there's something about just one painting and somebody just like belittling you for 45 minutes. Not that I encourage that kind of behavior, but like there is like a hard toughness. Like you wouldn't think that. Like I was a collegiate wrestler. I was a high school wrestling coach, and now I'm the art teacher. Now, what is that? Like, it's so weird. Like, high school kids couldn't figure that out. And I'm like, it's the same thing, man. Like, it's like, if you're hardworking and put in the time, you're gonna be a great artist. Same thing for wrestling. You know, it's talent's only so much. So that mentality has helped me through my career, because I never went to film school, and you know, for me, wrestling was sort of my background. That's my film school was just wrestling. Just the sport of wrestling, being like, you know, put in the work, and then hopefully, you know, you get to where you weren't, and most of the times you don't, but that's okay. You get a little further. So that's our kind of approach with film.
And I have an idea, but I can just ask you, how old are you?
I'm 39.
39. So yeah, I had you pegged around there. So it's, you kind of grew up in this, and come to a career in this time of Netflix too. All these things like the documentaries are, I don't know. I'm thinking back to like high school. Like when I was in high school, I don't really recall them being cool.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
But like now, and maybe it's just that I'm, you know, 35 now and not just a teenager. But maybe that's just how it happens. But now they are cool. And I feel like they're kind of cool across the board. Like everybody loves these.
We've experienced quite a change from like early on. I remember our first. We'll get into festivals like early 2010s or so, but I remember our first bigger run with a short was 2014, and I remember some of those festivals. It's like nothing there. Like you go in, and again, like I'm super happy for whatever, but there's like cups of water and like whatever, and then like you flash forward like a decade later, you know, some of the festivals we've been to recently, it's like Netflix is there, there's like celebrities, like there's open bar, and you're like, whoa, like what happened?
When did we go big time?
But like it's cool. Like I'm excited for that. You know, there's obviously problems, because you get a lot of folks coming into the space that aren't necessarily as true or wanting to do the type of work. Hopefully that's like on the ethics side and just like, you know, in general. But like it's neat, because it does create some opportunity for folks to get into the space. You know, obviously the other thing is camera gear has gotten much cheaper. So now you have a lot of first-time filmmakers doing some really interesting things.
Like you said, you didn't even go to film school.
No.
I mean, I'm not telling you not to go to film school, but it is one of those industries where if you have a passion for it, and obviously you have talent for it too, but you work hard. You know, it's just the arts are crazy, right?
It is, yeah. And like we find like a lot of other filmmakers have come from different careers. You know, even within our company, Pixella Films, like everyone kind of had a different path. You know, and so hopefully you kind of bring that, and that's kind of like an additional component to what you're putting into the work. But yeah, there's definitely no straightforward path in documentary filmmaking, because also, you know, it's not a massively lucrative career too. So like that direct film school to like just making documentaries full time doesn't happen as quickly, you know. So it's everyone kind of has a different
There's
path.
no direct in radio either.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
I assume, right?
Good. Tim O'Donnell joining us. He's the documentary of The House We Lived In. This is one that I know I had some of the people that chose those films on last week, and they were. This is one of the ones, you know, they tell you a little bit. They don't want to tell you too much because the festival's coming up, of course, but they're very excited about this at the Newburyport Documentary Film Festival. So you close it September 18th. That closing night, I'm guessing, is at the Firehouse?
Yeah, it's over there at 6 p.m. and I'll be there with my dad for a special Q&A after.
I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people now interested in this. John Moynihan is another friend of the show. He runs that place over there. It's a great venue. I'm sure you've been.
I have, it's beautiful.
It is. It's a good spot for this. So was there something you mentioned, like you get a lot of letters, Dad gets a lot of letters, people that they've helped along the way. Is there one, I'm sure there's several, but is there one like moment where something just hit you? Maybe somebody said something to you and you were like, yes, all right, that's what I did this for.
Yeah, I think I think there's been a bunch of moments, you know. It was wild getting to be on ESPN. So the ESPN early on did a special. They took our film and adapted it, and then they invited us back because it was successful and they wanted to do a follow-up.
And their version was through was it the wrestling angle?
Yeah, wrestling, and also him as a golfer. But yeah, wrestling was a big piece of that story, and the name of that was No Quit, and that was the motto he used and we used for him to kind of keep pushing, you know. And I just remember being at the studios, and there was another woman who had she didn't have a brain injury, but she had to have brain surgery because of like a complication.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a sense of time, and she's this marathoner. She can just run for hours, and she's won these huge races, and she finds out that she does not process time at all. And it was just neat being there and seeing these two people talk and connecting so deeply on their circumstances. And I think that keeps happening again and again and again. My dad has follow-ups at Spalding, and he happened to be there after the marathon bombing, and he got to counsel and talk with some of the folks who lost limbs. And while that situation is totally different, that idea of like one day I was the way I was and then the next I'm not. And so that is a theme that keeps connecting with people, and it's wild to see the range of people that get something out of it. But you know, it's been, there's too many too. It's like we're so lucky, like and the way he is too, like he wants to talk to people.
Yeah, that is key, right?
That's huge.
It makes for a whole different experience when you have somebody that's open for questions and just.
And I will say, like, I don't know anybody else, but like, you know, sometimes your parents talk too much, or you're like, dude, like, shut up, or like okay, we're at Dunkin' Donuts, and like, we just need to like get through the line. There's people behind us. Yeah. But as you get a little older, and I'm lucky, I've kind of have, like, obviously, especially because of this film, a deeper appreciation, hopefully, of like my parents and my dad. And I've just come to the terms of like, let the guy talk. Like, even if I'm like feeling like I'm sweating because I see people behind me, like, what is this guy doing? And he like starts off like, you know, I had a brain injury, blah blah blah. My son here filmed it, and people are looking at me like, and I'm just like, let the guy have his moment. Like it's kind of like Big Fish, you know, the movie Big Fish. Like I see my dad like that. You know, whether the story he's telling is completely accurate or appropriate, it doesn't even matter. He's there, he's telling it. And how do I know that Dunkin' Donuts employee isn't really gaining from it, even though it's an awkward situation? So I just try to step back now. Not that I always do.
But I mean, you got your own company, Pixella. I'm saying that correctly, right? Pixella. So I mean, you got this company. You've made movies in between, but I mean, is this really this 10.5 years? This whole process. Do you think this like kind of made you the filmmaker that you're going to be? Like, I mean, I can imagine this is just one that's so close to you, and you're so passionate about it. It took so long. It was such a huge chunk of your life. Like, if you didn't enjoy going through this process, enjoy seeing your dad come out of this, enjoy seeing your dad answer questions about this, enjoy starting new again with this new father. Like, I don't think he'd still be in the business, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been like an obsession, you know, in some ways, in a good way, and it's definitely kept me up at night. And I have way too many notes in my phone about ideas. You know, I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and sometimes I run up and I start editing or doing something, and it's been exciting, you know, and it feels good to finish it too, because there's so many projects ongoing, to be able to kind of put this one to rest and feel, and also there's something about feeling good about it. I know that sounds very vague, but like being okay with it was also important, because I've finished it in the past, quote unquote, but I wasn't okay with it.
You weren't there yet.
Something, So, I mean, we're lucky. We get to work with like a range of folks. We get to do videos with Life is Good, apparel company, and Sam Adams. We do a lot of videos for them, and Harvard, and you know, all these. We're kind of an oddity that we hit a lot of different types of organizations and nonprofits, and so we're in and out of these different worlds. The whole time we're going back to these films. Sometimes it's my dad's film. Sometimes it's, you know, we made a film called Life Without Basketball, the first Muslim American b-baller to play with a job at the college level. And like all these different stories. And I think it just helps everyone. It's not just me benefiting, but like to have that range of like short, like 15-second TV spot, 1-minute branded content, and then like, you know, the Life Without Basketball, for instance, was 4.5 years, overlapping with my dad's film. So it's like you're getting all that, hopefully, and there's a way you do that where it's really problematic, and hopefully we're doing it in a way that's like everyone can breathe a little bit and then like have some excitement. And then it's bizarre what happens when you go on a commercial project and you go to a doc and you go back and forth, because I think they strengthen each other, you know, because you're not just churning it out on both sides, you know, like if I was just making the doc stuff, which you think that's all I'd want, I don't think so. I think that might be tough, you know, all these emotive stories, you know, sometimes you need to make a beer commercial, you know, like
it's your stress relief.
Yes.
Free the mind.
Yes.
Oh, that is great. Well, I know you're excited about the 18th here. It's a Sunday night again at the Firehouse, 6 p.m. You said, so the movie runs. Then you guys are going to stay and do a question and answer.
Yeah, we'll do a Q&A. Yep.
So that's the Firehouse again. The House We Lived In is the documentary. Tim O'Donnell. What an amazing story. I don't even really have words, I guess.
Thanks.
I'm sure you get that a lot. I can't wait to see it myself. Is this kind of, what are you going to be doing Sunday night? Is this like, do you go in the back and say, that person's liking it, that person's not liking it? How does that work?
It's always a little different for each screening and each film. I think the nice thing is, like, you'd be surprised at how different a film can feel depending on the people in the room, the space. So I'm at the point where I just kick back and relax. I think they serve beer. I'll probably have a beer and just like enjoy it and just be there and just experience it. And like, you know, and that's what's nice about this, because that wasn't always the story for all the other films I've gotten to make. But yeah, no, I'll just kick back and relax. There's definitely, I've had screenings where I didn't really watch a film. My head was turned and I was just looking at people's reactions. Which, you know, that's a different type of experience. But and there'll be some like family and friends there, and you know, it's local to us, so it'll just be a fun time. You know, I'm looking forward to it.
John Moynihan, make sure you have a beer.
Yeah,
ready for Tim O'Donnell. He's made one request. That's too fun. Well, congratulations. I know it's already, so many people are talking so highly about it. I know you're probably excited to kind of start seeing the world's reaction to this. It must be a cool moment, and I wish the best to all your family, dad included, and you guys, and what an amazing project to go through together. Instagram, social media, if anybody wants to find more about the film, even after this Newburyport Documentary Film Fest rolls along. Yeah,
you can check us out at Pixella Films. We, you know, Instagram and Facebook. We also have a film Facebook page that's pretty active. Okay. The House We Lived In. So not hard to find. And then our site has all our films, pixellafilms.com, so you can check out our work. Hit us, and feel free to shoot me a note. Would love to hear from you. But this conversation's been awesome. It's really great to be able to pause and talk about art and film, for real. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad it was a good moment of getting away a little bit, even though.
Besides you kicking my broken leg the whole time, I don't know what is it to keep me on my edge? Is that it?
I like to see how people react to
the
pain.
That's just a little bit of pain.
Would you say a couple more weeks and you're out of it?
Yeah,
a couple more weeks, you're almost there.
Yeah,
that's good. I did that once, basketball.
Oh,
yeah.
It's good to break something though. It's a good experience, It's
you know what my mother told me?
What?
Stick it in the pool.
Stick it in the pool.
That's what
Extra
she told me.
chlorine.
She still feels bad about it. I don't even like bringing it up because she genuinely feels bad about it. She thought
great.
I wasn't being tough as a young kid. I said, I don't think I can go play anymore.
Oh, she didn't know it was broke.
She had no idea, yeah.
Oh, stick
I
it in
told
the
her I
pool.
rolled it playing basketball, and I kind of hobbled my way in. I was like, I don't think it's good. She's like, stick it in the pool.
That's great advice.
Yeah. Then I think we had to go to the doctors.
Yeah.
I actually remember the it gets even worse for them too. My dad ended up taking me to the doctors, and he said the doctor said the good news is where this actual swelling is, usually it doesn't break there. Puts the thing up. Bad news is you're the exception. It's broken. So,
Love that
I'll
doctor
always
demeanor, right?
Yeah. I'll always remember that.
Riding a roller
So,
coaster, yeah.
It was a roller coaster.
What do you break your ankle?
I think it was just the foot, but
The foot.
I think it was the
Yeah.
foot. Yeah. But it was painful. It was on one of those like it was. I don't remember. It was Strike One in Danvers, which is a baseball facility. But during like I guess it was during the summer months, they would put like a basketball floor over part of it. So it was like the weird like floor and it had
Super
little
hard.
cracks in it.
Yeah.
It was all squares. And I think I got caught in one of. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I was fine. I didn't get the wheelie thing though. I had to walk around with the boot.
New tech, yeah, the wheel.
I do recall playing baseball with the boot on in my front yard towards the end of it. Probably
They
about-
recommend that. They recommend that, right?
My mother was like, "Should he be running around?" I told him to stick it in the pool. I have nothing left to say. Maeve Power, by the way, technical director today. Maeve, I'm still getting to know Maeve, so I got to make sure I say that. Maeve Power doing a great job. Sarah Blackstone, program director. Sarah Hayden, the boss. Thank you guys for all your great efforts. Our small but mighty team here in Newburyport at NCM Hub. We appreciate it. I have the easy job here, just talking with these unbelievable guests. So thank you guys for putting it all together. Tim O'Donnell, have a fun week here in Newburyport ahead. I know you're going to be getting a lot of feedback, a lot of letters, a lot of questions. It's probably going to be I don't know, a little bit of a roller coaster, but we'll make sure John Moynihan has a beer for you. Thanks for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.